Spark Books here. Today, I'm going to explain the book, The Art of Public Speaking, by Dale Carnegie, with J.B. Esenwein. Take care, enjoy the book, and have a nice day. The Art of Public Speaking, 1915, remains one of the most popular and widely read guides to making effective public speeches. Its approachable language and applicable tips have been turning would-be speech givers into master orators for more than a century. Key idea number 1, practice makes perfect, stage fright can be overcome. What's your swimming lesson story? Did you study a swimming manual and then dive fearlessly into the nearest body of water? No, whether you remember it or not, you learned to swim by swimming, which likely involved a lot of uncomfortable thrashing and water up the nose. Why linger on your watery introduction? Public speaking is like swimming. Being an orator requires giving speeches. This means diving headfirst. You'll likely be nervous when speaking in public. Relax. William Gladstone and Henry Ward Beecher both suffered from stage fright. Speech giving isn't about getting courageous, it's about mastering it. 3 ways. First, let your speech's topic absorb you to eradicate self-consciousness. If you're focused on your idea or message, you won't worry about how the audience perceives you. Subordinate yourself to your speech's substance to eliminate self-presentation worries. Having something to say is crucial. Unprepared presenters often fail. If you haven't prepared and practiced your speech, doubts will come when you speak. To avoid this, memorize your speech's opening sentences. After planning, expect success. Expecting success doesn't equal being complacent. Maintain your humility, not a submissive, cowering humility, but a lively openness to growth. Put your fears aside and be willing to succeed. Your first few presentations may feel like drowning, but practice makes perfect. Key idea number 2, emphasis beats monotony. You're a pianist. There are infinite ways to interpret your own tunes or someone else's. You could play slowly, fast, softly, loudly, with flourishes or with consistency. Music has no hard and fast rules, so pause before or after a key word or phrase. You might also rush through the initial, less important part of a statement and then slowly say the ending. You can see your instrument's keys. You decide how to play them. Public speaking is similar. You can give a speech in countless ways, but first you must grasp the basics. Monotony is bad in speech and music. Imagine Bach on a one-keyed piano. Your monotone performance was deathly dull despite your determination and inventiveness. How to avoid monotony? You need new notes for public speaking. Dynamic speeches start with emphasis. To emphasize your speech's main ideas, emphasize key terms. Destiny is not random. Choice. How should I say this? Since destiny is the subject of the first sentence, you should highlight it, then accent not to negate. Chance deserves emphasis because it will be juxtaposed with choice. Emphasizing a word doesn't mean shouting it. If you've been speaking loudly, mumble or rumble the noteworthy word. Changing your pitch is one of 3 ways to emphasize a speech's main points. Change your pace and pause. People speak faster while describing exciting events and slower when presenting important data. They employ dramatic pauses. So pause before or after a key word or phrase. You might also rush through the initial, less important part of a statement and then slowly say the ending. You can see your instrument's keys. You decide how to play them. Key idea number 3, public speaking hinges on evoking emotion in your audience. Imagine 2 pre-Emancipation Proclamation anti-slavery preachers. First is a white anti-slavery politician. The second is a black mother who just watched her son get sold. Imagine you're an actor communicating through a character. You must become the cause or issue you're arguing for. Wear it so thoroughly that it possesses you like a spirit. Before a performance, many actors won't speak to anyone. Similar, if you can become your subject, you'll captivate and move your audience. Whose speech is more moving? No verdict yet. Enslaved African moms gave several of American history's most heart-rending speeches against slavery. These women lacked public speaking training. They had something education and practice can't give: emotion. Feelings govern us. Why do we like soft beds and cold water on hot days? We don't employ logic and reason, we just know. Aspiring orators should remember this. Arousing your audience's emotions, even briefly, will win them over more than hours of logic. A New York watchmaker's experiment proves this. 2 ads were launched. First, durability, utility, and design were stressed. The other described how possessing it would offer joy and pride. As the campaign tagline put it, a watch to be proud of. The second campaign sold twice as many watches as the first. How can you give emotional speeches? It's not easy. You must totally engage in a speech's topic. Meaning? Imagine you're an actor communicating through a character. You must become the cause or issue you're arguing for. Wear it so thoroughly that it possesses you like a spirit. Before a performance, many actors won't speak to anyone. Similar? If you can become your subject, you'll captivate and move your audience. Key idea number 4. Gestures can be taught, but they must be sincere. What about that tree? Know that stunted apple tree in your backyard? An idea: you could race to the garage, get a chainsaw, and cut down your neighbor's oak tree to nail to yours. Also, include gestures. It's weird to exclaim, "There he goes," and then point after a fleeing individual. Face and posture are both gestures. Your posture and attitude should mirror your speech's tone. Once you've practiced, you can trust your instincts. Let the speech's topic lead you, and your motions will become strong. If only gardening problems were so simple. A tree's external look depends on its inner state. It takes inventiveness to apply this to gesture art. When giving a speech, your actions and gestures must reflect your true feelings. Theatrical, affected gestures will look stupid. Gesture must be spontaneous, but you can rehearse it. You can't prepare every verbal gesture. Effective gestures emerge freely and spontaneously when you speak. If you've ever seen a skilled speaker give the same speech twice, you'll notice that gesture changes. Spontaneity doesn't guarantee quality. Organic movements are awkward. To improve your movements, view yourself in a mirror before each speech. Adjust uncomfortable or unneeded gestures. Gesticulation resembles speech. More practice, less thinking. Your gestures will become natural and spontaneous with practice. Too much movement distracts from a speech's message. Avoid superfluous gestures. Also, include gestures. It's weird to exclaim, "There he goes," and then point after a fleeing individual. Face and posture are both gestures. Your posture and attitude should mirror your speech's tone. Once you've practiced, you can trust your instincts. Let the speech's topic lead you, and your motions will become strong. Key idea number 5. A healthy voice needs care. Basketball players and public speakers. Similarities? Both should be comfortable with crowds, but there's more. Both must have healthy hearts. Forward pitch it. Say crash, dash, whirl, and buzz with your hand in front of your face. You should feel the tone striking your hand. Strong lungs can help you slam dunk or speak in a vast auditorium. A powerful voice requires good lungs. One successful orator would practice his speeches while running to boost his lung power. Not athletic? Here's an easy workout that will improve your lungs and train you to breathe using your diaphragm, which gets the most air. Hands on hips, keeping your hands still. Squeeze your lungs by touching one hand to the other. Deeply inhale without raising your shoulders. Repeat. Strong voice isn't just about lung capacity. Relaxation is key. Open your throat to project your voice. Simple exercises might help you manage undesired tension. Rotate your torso horizontally around your waist. Let your head fall forward as you relax your neck. This opens and relaxes your throat. To open your throat, yawn. Your throat opens as you do. Try speaking instead of yawning. This improves volume and tone. Volume and positioning affect vocal carrying power. Even in the rear of a theater, the snap of crushed paper is audible. If you place your voice right, everyone can hear a whisper. Forward pitch it. Say crash, dash, whirl, and buzz with your hand in front of your face. You should feel the tone striking your hand. Key idea number 6. Organize your audience to boost your speech's impact. Oh, air, crickets, starry night, camping? Start a fire and roast some hot dogs. You get some dry sticks, scatter them, and fire the nearest bit of kindling. Why? Contagion phobia. Anti-authoritarian sentiment scared these governments. Once you master crowd building, your message will spread like wildfire. If you're familiar with camping, you'll discover a fault in this fire-making routine. Mismatched sticks. If you want a roaring fire, stack your sticks so the flame can spread. A speaker's effect is the flame of her speech. How would she arrange her audience to stir hearts and minds? Let's put analogies aside and examine why crowding your audience can boost your speech's impact. If the audience is crowded, it becomes a crowd. John Ruskin, a 19th century social thinker, said that mobs think by infection. If you can turn your audience into a throng, your opinion will catch. You can also gather individual listeners around similar problems. Address their worries, objectives, and sentiments. Once they realize their preoccupations are shared, they'll form a throng. Maybe you disbelieve crowds can spread mental illness. Have you ever been to a concert where the music stops, someone claps, and then everyone applauds, even if the gap was merely between movements? Contagion. Many totalitarian countries, such as the Soviets, realized the power of crowd mentality and outlawed public gatherings. Why? Contagion phobia. Anti-authoritarian sentiment scared these governments. Once you master crowd building, your message will spread like wildfire. Key idea number 7. Test your arguments to strengthen them. A monarch wants to control the world. His castles were impregnable. This monarch had a terrible flaw: he couldn't destroy his foe's defenses. Remember, don't just defend your own points, include your opponent's arguments. You'll be as invincible as our monarch in his castle and have your own fortification falling power. You can't build an irrefutable argument if you can't refute counterarguments. If you can't refute potential disputants' arguments, their claims will be as solid as yours. Effective speakers may develop and destroy arguments. Every speaker will be challenged eventually. The author gives interesting advice on building and deconstructing arguments. Instead of arguing dos and don'ts, he asks questions. Every argument consists of a question, evidence, reasoning, and inferences. 2 questions for each segment help you test any argument. Ask if the question is clear. This means ensuring that each disputant understands the keywords. Ensure that your opponent's concept of gentleman matches yours. Second, consider fairness. Too little information or a trap in the argument's formulation? First, inquire which experts are quoted. Unbiased? Who are they? Clear, reliable, unbiased? Second, ask for specifics. Sufficient? Do they agree or disagree? Confirmed or questionable? First, ask if the information supplied could support a different conclusion. Ask if all counterarguments are weak. 2 inference questions. Do you propose a conclusion that doesn't follow from the evidence? Do your pieces of proof jive? Remember, don't just defend your own points, include your opponent's arguments. You'll be as invincible as our monarch in his castle and have your own fortification falling power. Key idea number 8, public speaking requires imagination. All persuasive speeches rely on argument. A well-crafted network of logical links is dull and lifeless. Who will want to hear it? Poetry is image-driven. Many public speakers forget their poets, too. If you do this, your talks will stand out. Before speaking publicly, use your imagination. First, use metaphors. Your lecture argues that drunkenness destroys happy homes. You may stand before your audience, announce your thesis, and then enumerate tiresome statistics. If you're speaking to data analysts, this may work. Most people would fall asleep, though. Tell a story to captivate your audience. Storytell about a drunk returning after the weekend, cursing at his wife and assaulting his kids. This will grab your audience's attention and keep with them longer than cold numbers and generalizations. Next, visualize your speech. Before a speech, visualize how it will proceed. Imagine your audience. Imagine your audience's favorable and negative reactions. This reduces worry and prepares for disasters. Rehearse your speech with your audience in mind. Imagine your words, how you'll pronounce them, and your motions. If you can visualize it, you'll forget less and give a more interesting presentation. Poetry is image-driven. Many public speakers forget their poets, too. If you do this, your talks will stand out. Practice makes perfect for public speaking. However, there are successful strategies. Avoid monotony by employing emphasis, making honest gestures, turning your audience into a throng, and taking care of your cardiovascular health. Test your arguments and your opponents, and use imagery to develop and construct speeches. To view more content like this, subscribe. Don't forget to like and turn on notifications. The channel really benefits from it. I appreciate you being here.